Hello there. Today we're going to talk about Mafia, Mob Blood, Family, or Fate. This is the latest release in the long-running Mafia series of video games. Mafia has always been one of my favorite video game series, so I was really excited for this new release. But is it any good? Well, let's talk about it. Now, I have not played this game yet, but I have watched some gameplay and I've read up on it quite a bit. So what exactly is Mafia? Definitive Edition. It is a remake of the first game in the series, which came out way back in 2002, yes? This game is over 20 years old now, but I remember when it came out, I was absolutely blown away by it. And even today, I think that this is one of the best video games ever made. Now, the original game was set in the 1930s, and this remake keeps that same time period. The setting has changed just a little bit. Instead of the original game being based around the American city of Lost Heaven, which is obviously inspired by Chicago, this remake is set in the fictional Italian city of 1930s. Despite this change, this is pretty much the exact same game as the original. You play as an Italian mobster during the Prohibition era. There are a bunch of missions that you have to go through. The story is pretty similar to the original game, but they have tweaked it just a little bit. One of the biggest differences between this game and the original is that this one has a linear storyline, with the player character having a sort of companion with them for most of the game. In the original, you were more or less on your own for most of the game. In this one, they've decided to add a character that sort of sticks around for most of the game. I don't want to spoil anything, so I won't say who this is, or how they fit into the overall story. One thing that is different, though, is how you get around the city. In the original game, you could freely roam around the city whenever you wanted to. In this version, they decided to make it more like a story-driven game, where you can only drive around when the game specifically lets you. Another difference is that this game has been updated to use Unreal Engine 5, which is the same engine that was used to create games such as Fortnite, The Mandalorian, The Last of Us, and many others. If you're someone who has played any of those games, then you'll know that the graphics are amazing in this game. They did an amazing job updating this game to newer technology. Everything looks crisp and beautiful, and they really captured the essence of the 1930s. The cutscenes look almost photorealistic, and the gameplay also looks very realistic. So let's talk about the gameplay. What exactly is there to do in this game? Well, like I said earlier, this is more or less the same game as the original, but with better graphics. So the gameplay is very similar. Most of the game is spent driving around the open world and shooting at people. Of course, there are a few other things to do. You can fight enemy gang members hand to hand, and there are some stealth missions thrown in there as well. But most of the game is spent driving around the city and either running into stuff or shooting at stuff. I don't want to spoil too much of the game, so I'm not going to say too much more about the gameplay. But if you've played the original game before, then you'll know exactly what to expect here. So let's talk about the story in this game. Like I said earlier, the story is very similar to the original game, but it's been changed just a little bit. I don't want to spoil anything, but the main character in this game is a hitman for the local mob boss. Throughout the course of the game, he gets caught up in a war between two rival gangs. He ends up having to make some tough decisions that will affect the entire city. As far as stories go, it's not anything too crazy or unique, but it does a decent job of keeping you interested. The characters in this game are all pretty interesting, and they all voiced by a talented cast of voice actors. Unfortunately, the voice acting doesn't do the characters any favors. Everyone sounds incredibly stiff and unnatural. The voice acting is definitely one of the weakest parts of this game. Let's talk about the length of this game. How long is it going to take me to beat? Well, if you rush through the main story, you can probably beat this game in about 15 hours. But if you take your time and do all of the side quests, it's going to take you closer to 25 hours. Now, I would say that's a pretty good length for a single-player game. It gives you enough to do without dragging the story out too much. Let's talk about the replay value in this game. Is there any reason to play it again after you've beaten it once? I would say no, not really. The story is pretty short, and there's not a whole lot of replay value in the gameplay. Alright, so let's talk about the price of this game. Is it worth the money? Well, that's a little bit harder to answer. At the time of making this video, the game is priced at $59.99 US. Now, I would say that's a fair price for a single-player game with this amount of content, but it all depends on how much you like the game. If you were a fan of the series and you've always wanted a remake of the first game, then this is definitely worth getting. However, if you've never played a Mafia game before, then then I would recommend checking out the series on a streaming service first. That way you can get a feel for the gameplay before you spend any money. So let's talk about the system requirements for this game. Can your computer run it? Well, here are the minimum system requirements as listed on the official website. You need Windows 10 or 11, a 6-core Intel or AMD processor, an NVIDIA GTX 970, or an AMD RX 488 GB of RAM, and 75 GB of available hard drive space. Honestly, those system requirements are pretty high. You're going to need a pretty beefy computer to be able to run this game smoothly. If you're on the fence about whether or not your computer can run it, I would recommend checking out a benchmarking website. That way you can see how your computer compares to other computers that have played this game. Is this game easy to learn? Yes, absolutely. The controls are pretty simple. All you're really doing is driving around and shooting at stuff, so it's not too hard to pick up and play. Does this game require a lot of skill? No, not really. The combat is pretty easy, and there's not a lot of skill involved in driving around and shooting at stuff. So let's talk about the age rating for this game. This game has been rated M for mature by the ESRB. This is due to the game's violence, blood, and language. I would say that this rating is pretty accurate. The game does have some violence and blood, but nothing too over the top. The language in the game is also pretty mild. What are the system requirements to stream this game? Well, according to the developers, you need at least a mid-spec PC to be able to stream this game at 108p. This means you'll need something like an Xbox One or a PS4. Do you need to buy the Premium Edition? Well, I wouldn't bother with the Premium Edition unless you plan on getting all of the DLC. The Premium Edition comes with the Season Pass, which includes 2 upcoming DLC packs. But if you don't plan on getting those DLC packs, then just get the Standard Edition. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and comment below to let me know what you thought. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please consider subscribing. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.